Welcome to the Startup DNA podcast, where we explore the human side of the startup journey. We sit down to chat with Camila Sáenz about founders in a foreign land, her pet peeve, and teaching the global mindset. For those who may not know, who is Camila Sáenz? She is the founder of TUTEEMI, an education startup. Piccolage launched and hit 400,000 downloads in the first month. From the outside, it looks like instant success. But here's what you don't see: the business models that didn't work, the years in the wilderness, and the choice between chasing another round or daring to become self-sustaining. Piccolage chose independence. They became profitable on their own terms. More than 10 years later, they still operate with a startup mindset. 40% of their team is dedicated to what's next. New products, new platforms, and navigating the shift from mobile to AI. Today, Piccolage has more than 300 million downloads, staying creative while keeping design simple and accessible, building products that help you celebrate life's best moments. That's the Piccolage Company. Learn more at piccolage.com, PICCOLLAGE.com. Camila, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us on the Startup DNA podcast.
Thank you for having me, Tony. I'm so happy to be here.
What's it like being back in Taipei now? You're not based here anymore. What's it like coming back?
It somehow feels like being back at home again. It's crazy, right? Because like 10 years ago, everything was like so different. But now it's like, oh, I'm home. I know to which restaurant to go to. Like, it's just home.
That's right. You first arrived in Taiwan 10 years ago?
Chabudo.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm happy that, by chance, we can bring you back to a familiar spot. I have to say, you make it look easy, starting a business and running a startup. Is it easy? Is it as easy as it looks?
No, I don't think I've ever made it seem easy. I think I've always been very honest of how hard it is. But I think I've been very lucky and very fortunate to have the right people around me and have a great team that maybe help me make it look easy, but it's not.
TUTEEMI, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes.
TUTEEMI. Where does that name come from? What was the thinking behind it?
It was a very last minute change of plans. The company originally was called Key Tutors, but TUTEEMI was part of an incubator, which said that the word tutor was like too dangerous to use because a bigger company could sue us because of using that word. So that same evening, I had to change the name because I had a pitch competition the next day. I found the word tutee, which means the student of a tutor. Like a mentor has a mentee, a tutor has a tutee. So I looked at tutee.com, but then the domain was too expensive. So I started looking and like playing with other words like TUTEEMU, TUTEEMA, TUTEE blah, 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 and then TUTEEMI was $5. So I was like, this is the name of my company. So it was a very last minute kind of thing. It was not planned.
Can you tell me a little bit more how you got into it? What gave you that idea in the first place?
So like since I came to Taiwan, I was a tutor myself. I was always tutoring Spanish and English to a lot of different kids that would go to American school, European school. And I had tutors growing up as well back home because I'm not good at math and statistics and chemistry and all of this. So growing up, I grew up with tutors. Coming to Taiwan, I became a tutor. And I just feel like tutors can become people's mentors, like kids' mentors.
Tutoring is certainly, I would say it's a way of life. What makes TUTEEMI different from the traditional style of tutoring or even from other educational platforms?
I think when I came to Taiwan, I had the chance to become a bushiban teacher, like a cram school teacher, just because I look Waiguoren, I look foreigner. So I automatically got a job. And I realized the system when it comes to education in Taiwan is very tied to people's, like kids' scores and how good your English is according to your pronunciation, your accent, memorizing exams, like the pressure of this. And then I didn't really grow up with that. I always had good scores, but I never felt that pressure that Taiwanese kids feel. So with TUTEEMI, I meant to just build a company that could give a big sister or an older brother to kids for them to learn about global mindset, about feeling confident when speaking a language and not passing exams. So we don't focus on test prep. A lot of families comes like, oh, my kid wants to learn, like, I don't know, like they need to pass SATs or TOEFL. And it's just like, no, this is the wrong company. We don't do that.
What gives them that confidence other than just practice or regular use?
I like to think that our tutors, like one of the requirements is that all of them need to be bilingual. So like my first language is Spanish, my second one is English, my third one is Chinese. So I know the process it takes. I know like how much patience you need, how much practice you need. So I like to think that our tutors can help their students feel like that, like give them those shortcuts or tell them like, hey, try this way, try that way, because they themselves have learned a second language. It's not just the practice, but maybe the tutors telling them like, okay, this is a way of learning it, because they don't only speak one language, but they also speak two languages.
I have to say, in the past 10 years, the landscape has changed a lot. I think there's been more expats in the working world other than just teaching English. And then there are founders like yourself. I've been seeing a lot more foreign founders in Taiwan. Did you sense that as you were starting your business, building it in Taiwan?
I would say that yes, most foreigners, they come and teach languages. Whenever you meet someone, they're either a student, international student, exchange student, or they're English teachers. And a very small percentage are like expats that are being sent from international companies to Taiwan. When I started the company, I had very, very few foreign friends also starting a company. And this time that I'm back, yes, I've heard of other foreigners starting their companies. I haven't met them yet, but I like to think that, yes, that there are more foreigners starting their own companies as well.
How much did you know about the startup ecosystem in Taiwan when you started your business? What, now it's 6 years ago?
I knew nothing. Like when I say nothing is absolutely nothing. I was a photojournalist. I was into photography. I used to travel the world, have photo exhibitions. I had my photo book. That was it. Even though I finished my MBA in Taiwan, I really didn't know much about the business world. So when I signed up for the first time to Dragon's Chamber, which is like a pitch competition for foreigners, and we got accepted, they sent me an email saying, okay, you need to give us your business model, your traction, your all these like fancy words that I have no clue what they meant.
Even though were you already?
I was graduating. I was about to graduate.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But like, that's what I'm saying. Like startup vocab, I had no idea. Like I just didn't understand anything. So I had to Google everything. And that's when I found out about Dragonstein. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm going to go and do. I was clueless.
How did that turn out?
And then we got in the third place from
wow.
Dragon's Chamber. Yeah. That gave me a bit of a confidence of like, oh, maybe this could actually work.
Do you think it was instinct? Was it hard work? Was it beginner's luck?
I think it was a bit of everything. I think it was a lot of research. I always feel like Google has the answers to everything that you need to know. And then if you really cannot find it in Google, then you can go and find someone that can give you the answer. Yeah, I just did a lot of research. I studied, I watched a lot of different pitches, and I was like, okay, so this is what I need to do, copy paste, and then we got on the third place.
Like I said, you make it look easy, but I know it's not. Being a founder in a foreign land, that's happening more and more, not just in Taiwan, all over the world. The US might be a little bit different, but in Taiwan, that's a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
It is. I think one of the superpowers that every founder should have is just resourcefulness. You need to find the options. You need to find the solutions to everything. And I think as a foreigner myself, who didn't really speak much Chinese back then, I think like you just need to find solutions to everything. So it makes you very resourceful. Like it's just like, oh, how can I ask for help? Who do I need to talk to? What video do I need to watch? What book do I need to read? And I think if I was back in Guatemala starting a company, like back then when I was 23, it would have been like such a different experience, because then I would feel like, oh, I speak the language, I have the connections, my family can introduce me to whoever I want, or my friends can introduce me to this person. But in Taiwan, it's just like, I really need to build my network from scratch. And then maybe you're like a bit less scared of mistakes, because you're just like, oh, whoops, 我听不懂中文. Like you could always just say, oh, it was a mistake because you're a foreigner. So I think it has its advantages as well.
So you're using what some might perceive as a weakness, you're using that as a strength. You mentioned you started around 23. That's a relatively young age, especially in this part of the world. The average age of founders is mid-30s or maybe even late 30s. So as they say, most founders here, they've had some experience in the corporate world and then they saved up some money and then they're ready to do it. But you started early. Did that help you?
It's a tricky question. I feel like I managed to surround myself with people that were a lot older than me. Most of my friends are 5, 10, 15, 20 years older than me. So like maybe because I was hanging out with them, I would look at them and be like, oh, that looks easy. I could do it. If they can do it, I can do it. But then sometimes I would forget that I was only 23 and then I would really get frustrated for certain things. And then I just kept reminding myself like, okay, they're 5 years ahead. They're 10 years ahead. So yeah, it definitely like the age gap back then did affect me in a more in a negative way sometimes, but of course in a positive way as like, oh, like my friends are very, very inspiring.
You joined AppWorks soon after you started the company.
Like a year and a half-ish. I was very naive. I honestly didn't really know what AppWorks was until I was in. AppWorks is one of the biggest accelerators in Asia. I'm pretty sure it's one of the biggest in Taiwan for sure. One of the oldest. I think it's been running for 10 plus years. And they have this thing that they call the mafia, like the AppWorks mafia, which is like the network of founders that later on can become your mentors and they can help you avoid mistakes they did in the very beginning of their journey. So I'm forever thankful to AppWorks and also Startboard back then. Now it's called Crossbond. It was our incubator. So from incubator, I went to accelerator, and from AppWorks, I jumped to 500. So I think having access to these networks definitely helped me.
500 global, of course.
Yeah.
What was it like, walking into a room of potential investors, people who have 10, 15, 20 years more experience in the startup community? Not just in Taiwan, but globally. What was that like, that first time you walk into a room and you have to give your presentation?
For the presentation itself, it was just very exciting, I would say, because they also told me it would be better if I pitched in Chinese. So I was like, oh my God, I need to pitch in Chinese in front of 1,500 people. So it was a big challenge. I was super nervous, but I just enjoyed it. I feel like I enjoy everything I do. Like if you're not enjoying something in life, then you're doing something wrong. So I just enjoyed the whole thing. And I read this quote that basically said that if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You should always try to be where smarter people are, because that's the only way to actually learn. So being surrounded by all these people that were like serial entrepreneurs and that had like second, third startup, or people that were coming from Microsoft and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, I need to be a sponge and I need to learn so much from them.
What was that like day to day? Because it's called an accelerator, but it's intensive, isn't it? They push you, they pull you,
they question you. Yeah, no, I think it was great. I'm still very close to everyone at AppWorks. They helped me so much, from helping me design a better website to my accountant is still from AppWorks, and she has seen me cry so many times because I really don't understand numbers and taxes, and all of these things are just a big nightmare. Didn't matter how many tutors I had back in high school, I still struggle with numbers. So she helps me. Marketing and everything. It was just a bunch of different workshops, polishing our pitch deck. We had a big team of interns that were coming to the office. There was a co-working space that we could just see other founders working on their craft. So it was just this constant bubble of like, okay, everyone is hustling and everyone's working on their own thing. So I think it was great. COVID hit, which was bad because, of course, everyone was scared of foreign tutors coming to people's houses. So they were like, oh, you need to pivot. You need to like start teaching online. And I was like, no, I don't want to teach online. Like, I don't want the tutors to teach online. I don't want the kids to be in front of the computers for so long. So it was a proper roller coaster. Yeah. But I learned a lot and I'm forever grateful.
Did you listen to what they advised you to do, or?
No. No, I'm so stubborn. I'm Latina, the stereotype. Yeah, I almost got into fights because then they were like, yeah, but you're so young. Like, you don't know what you're doing. And like, you should do online teaching because you need to pivot. You need to learn how to pivot. That's what founders have to do, And then I was like, nope, I don't want to tutor online, So we had to pause everything, like crumbled down. It was bad. I was about to shut down TUTEEMI. And later on when COVID ended, all the parents didn't want their kids to be learning from the computer. right? So then the only company that was actually sending in-person tutors to their homes was TUTEEMI. So then it just like skyrocketed. So we went from up to down to up, So
Oh, wow.
we've talked with some people from AppWorks and they're just like, it's crazy to see that TUTEEMI has been running for 6 years now.
And what gave you that conviction to say, that's not for me? Did you at some point question, did I just make the right choice? These professionals are telling me one way, I'm going the other way.
I'm sure I did. Running a startup, you never end up questioning yourself. I question myself every day is like, am I doing the right thing? Like, do I even know what I'm doing? But I think it just comes to your core values. And I think every founder should have their values in place and then be like, okay, what is right? What is wrong for yourself? And then it doesn't matter if someone is really telling you the opposite, you're not going to feel comfortable running a company that goes against your values. So I just really didn't want to have kids in front of the computer for so long. So it made me feel that there was something wrong with it. And I was also teaching in university already. So I had students had to be in front of the computer for a very long time. And it didn't feel healthy to me. So I think you just really need to go with your gut feeling and what feels right. Otherwise, you're going to be running a company that you're not aligned with.
Languages are gateway to the world. What is it about the global mindset that helps that spark in learning a language?
Learning languages have been one of my biggest assets, I would say, because if I only spoke Spanish, I would only have half of the opportunities that I've had till today. So I think like learning a second and a third language can just open so many doors and so many possibilities to anyone. It's not only about passing exams, but to get to see the world, to be able to read news in different languages or to watch movies in different languages, to have friends from around the world that can teach you how to think differently. So I think that's where the global mindset comes from. At this point, I've traveled to 60 plus countries. And I think just because I speak English, I've been able to speak with so many people. If I only spoke Spanish, it would be very different.
Piccolage launched and hit 400,000 downloads in the first month. From the outside, it looks like instant success. But here's what you don't see: the business models that didn't work, the years in the wilderness, and the choice between chasing another round or daring to become self-sustaining. Piccolage chose independence. They became profitable on their own terms. More than 10 years later, they still operate with a startup mindset. 40% of their team is dedicated to what's next. New products, new platforms, and navigating the shift from mobile to AI. Today, Piccolage has more than 300 million downloads, staying creative while keeping design simple and accessible, building products that help you celebrate life's best moments. That's the Piccolage Company. Learn more at piccolage.com, PICCOLLAGE.com. And how often, do the students already have a global mindset before they study a second language? What are some of the encounters or experiences that you've come across here in Taiwan in running TUTEEMI?
I think it starts with the parents. It depends how much of a global mindset the parent has. That basically replicates on your kids. So we have a lot of moms and dads coming and being like, I only want a native English speaker. I don't want someone of color. I don't want someone that looks Asian, and then we basically have to educate the parents and be like, it doesn't matter if the tutor is yellow, black, brown, white. It doesn't make a difference on how your kid is going to learn. It's a constant fight, a constant regroup with the parents of being like, hey, you are judging someone just because of a picture and the color or how they look.
Taiwan and many countries in Asia are very homogenous countries. People generally are of one race, and expats, there are more and more, but still a small minority. How have you helped some of the parents to come across that?
I think in the very beginning, it was almost mission impossible because every parent was just looking to have a white, blue-eyed, blonde girl in their house. That was the expectation of having an English tutor. And the more we started sending tutors of different ethnicities to people's homes and then uploading these pictures, I think people started having this should I give it a try? And then I think TUTEEMI's reputation grew to be really good, that now people just come because of the brand and they really trust whoever we're going to send, instead of starting with the question of, where is this tutor from? We do go through a very strict interview process. We make sure that these people have at least 2 years of teaching experience, that they can legally work in Taiwan. So I think they trust the reputation of the company. And my right hand, Marcy, who is basically the general manager of TUTEEMI, nothing would be possible without her. She knows exactly how to speak with these parents and be like, okay, you know what? You're not global enough to be part of TUTEEMI. So now we could actually reject clients, which is something that we couldn't do in the beginning.
When people ask you, where are you from? What's their reaction when you say Guatemala? Do they know? It's a small country in Central America, not the first when most people think of Latin America.
In the very beginning, when I got my first pushy band job, they asked me to say that I was from Miami.
Is that a city in Guatemala? Or?
It's not.
Okay.
But of course, I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure like if any other foreigner that taught at a cram school like watches this, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm Italian. And they told me I had to say I'm from the UK. You know, like this is something that happens in every cram school in Taiwan. Like there is people that just look foreigner and then they ask us to say that we're from a different country just to make parents happy.
Did you abide by their suggestion?
In the very beginning, I had to. I was only 19. I was fresh out of high school and I wanted a job. I needed extra cash, but it was really almost offensive. Why do I need to lie about my nationality? But then, yeah, when I say Guatemala, half of the people is just like, where is that? What language do you speak? And then it's good. I get to share about my country. And I feel like that's how Taiwanese should feel about their accent as well. It's like, if you have an accent, you go abroad and people ask them, where are you from? It's like, oh, you can talk about your country. You should be proud.
What's the ecosystem like in Central America and Latin America in general?
I'm actually about to start exploring that side of the world because, as I said, I left 12 years ago. I am very excited to explore Mexico City because I know it's booming. Everyone's saying, oh, the amount of expats that are moving to Mexico City, the startup world in Mexico is booming, also in Bogota, in Colombia. And I think in Guatemala, it's starting to get there. Last year when I was there, I heard that there are some accelerators starting, some VC funds starting. So I think I'm very excited. I think it's probably going to be like Taiwan 10 years ago when everything started here as well.
Oh, so you're starting a second company or you started one recently? Can you tell me about that?
So the company is called Outliers. The idea is to build a community of people with 3 different profiles, one of them being Guatemalans that lived abroad for more than 3 years. The second one is expats that are living in Guatemala and creating a positive impact for the country. So working at NGOs or big companies providing jobs. And the third profile is just founders, people that are providing jobs and impact in the country. If they lived abroad or not is not as important. So I just want to like combine all these people with like global ideas so they can start doing really cool things for Guatemala.
And with TUTEEMI, what's brewing now? What do you have in sights coming up?
We started TUTEEMI Plus, which is now mostly focused on B2B. So we're sending the tutors to people's companies to also help the employees have more confidence when speaking English, Spanish, French, whatever it is. So we've noticed that, yeah, kids need confidence, but at the same time, adults also need this confidence when speaking a second or third language in Taiwan.
Even if there's AI and so forth, you're not going to have a VC call with AI, right? Is there some traction? Do you sense that as the corporate world is also becoming more global and also more startups coming up in Taiwan, do you feel that there's a good growth potential?
I think there is. If you want to run your company abroad, to have an international company, like you need to start with English, right? You cannot think of communicating with a German company in Chinese. So I do believe that the TUTEEMI tutors have a lot of expertise with every kind of age, or they have business backgrounds or whatever it is. So I really hope that we could also help more and more adult students in Taiwan with TUTEEMI Plus.
Is there a sanctity in the language, in learning a language, that falls outside of technology, actually?
I think AI is making maybe some tutors work easier just because now students can practice daily on a daily basis. Maybe the tutor was able to come twice a week, but now they could actually have little homeworks or tasks that they could practice on their own with AI help to improve their language skills faster. So I think like if we combine the human interactions with AI, we can go faster anywhere.
I mean, that's part of the global mindset you were talking about, because talking to a machine, the feedback is different, isn't it?
I do believe that when you are speaking with someone, you get this human interaction, like the body language, the other person might make you question your own ideas, right? When you're speaking with a computer, like with AI, then it's more of a you with the computer kind of thing. But then once you have to negotiate, you have to do sales, you have to interact with people with a different culture, it's not going to be the same thing. So I still think it's very needed to have these like real person interaction when speaking a language, when trying to learn a second language.
Was there ever a point where you stopped yourself and felt like, okay, it's time to pivot?
I think like just like when you are very in tune with your gut feeling, you will know when this is not working and when you really need to stop doing something. So for example, my first idea with TUTEEMI Plus was to have these foreigners teach skills to Taiwanese, like basketball, painting, any other things, photography, yoga, you know? But then I realized that from the foreigner side, they wanted to do that. They had all these skills that they wanted to teach Taiwanese other than languages. But then from the Taiwanese side, they were not interested. Yeah. So not only my gut feeling told me, okay, this is not right, I could also see the data. I was just like, okay, we're pushing this, but it's not going anywhere. So that's when you really need to listen to yourself and be like, okay, I tried, it didn't work out. I need to stop and then move on and then not just get stuck with doing what's not working already. Yeah.
Some people might see that as failure and it becomes a burden. But, you know, is that what you experienced? Did you, even for a moment, feel like, what was I thinking?
It definitely hits like hard. I was sad because it was a project that with the team we had worked on for almost a year. Wow. With the interns and everything, like as a side project. And then I broke my arm. I got into a scooter accident. Once my arm healed, I broke my toe. And then I just felt like all these signs from the world were telling me like, pause, like this is not the way to go. But I never really saw it as failure because I think failure would have been to not try. And I tried, it didn't work out. So then I can move on. And then I realized we're so scared of failure because we're so scared of what people will think of our failure. But then I realized no one ever asked me about TUTEEMI Plus. No one asked me what happened to TUTEEMI Plus. No one cared. Everyone is just living their life, you know? So like, yeah, I was a bit sad. I was a bit disappointed. The team was a bit sad. But outside of that, no one really even asked.
Has there been a role model or a mentor that you have looked up to as a sort of guiding light?
I would say like in every stage of your life, you have people that you can look up to. Like when I was a photographer, I had photographers that I really looked up to, like Steve McCurry. And then when I started TUTEEMI, I looked up at Sophia Amoruso. I never know how to pronounce her last name, like from Girl Boss, because she started a company very young. And I had people I could look up to. But I think my role model has always been my mom, just because the way that she sees life, she was the one that taught me best things in life aren't things. So it basically translates to the most important things in life is just like your friends, your family, your experiences.
Was she an entrepreneur? Did she run a business as well? Did you get some of that from her?
I think the entrepreneur side, not at all. But I did read a research that says that a lot of entrepreneurs, their parents are teachers. So I looked up and read a bit more about this topic, and I realized that my mom, she was always a present mom to me and my brother. She was always there for us because she was an art teacher. So she was teaching art in the same school that we would go to. So we would wake up at the same time, we would come home at the same time. And in the afternoon, I would go to swimming lessons. My brother would go to karate with her. And we would always travel together. We had the same vacations, the same holidays. So growing up, I just realized like, yeah, that freedom, I want that freedom. I don't want to have a 9-to-5 kind of job because we had all this free time to spend with my mom, and a lot of entrepreneurs followed that path as well.
Is there a founder you admire most?
I have many, but I think I recently told you about Christian, who is the founder of Platzi. They've helped more than 5 million students in Latin America to improve in a lot of different skills. So I really just admire founders that are having a positive impact in the world, and he's one of them. And he's from Guatemala.
What do you obsess about most related to your work or outside of your work?
I think self-improvement, just like continue learning, like just like I want to try new things as often as I can. I get bored very quickly, so I just feel like I want to try new things all the time.
If you weren't running TUTEEMI, what would you be doing?
It's so tricky. Someone just asked me this very recently and I couldn't come up with an answer because I feel like right now I'm living the life that I wanted, that I've always wanted. I get to travel, I get to hang out with my friends, I get to spend time with my family, and I run TUTEEMI and I love what we do. So at this precise moment of my life, I don't think I wouldn't change it for anything.
What's your biggest fear? Work-wise, otherwise?
If it's a thing, I am very scared of cockroaches. And I have a plastic cockroach in my wallet that I scare people with. And I have like a full highlights of scares I do with my friends ever since high school because I get super scared, so I scare other people. When it comes to something more of a deep question, I think going blind is something that scares me.
The ultimate dream, what is it? Are you close to achieving it? Is it something you're working towards? Or is it just something you like to have dwelling in your mind? Nothing you have to do about it.
Like if you could ask me for the biggest dream ever, like I would love to have a positive impact in my country. Like I've seen how Taiwan changed everything in a matter of 40, 30 years. How Taiwan was 40 years ago is like nothing like it was now. So it kind of gives me the hope that like Guatemala could go through something like that at some point, like for people to be educated, for people to have access to healthcare. Yeah, if I could just change my whole country, that would be my biggest dream.
Thanks very much, Camila. Thanks very much for joining us on the Startup DNA podcast.